Hello and welcome to this Blender tutorial. I'm Chicken Google Soup and this is part 1 of an instructional series on how to make a rigged and 3D modeled creature in Blender. Ready for video games and other forms of media. So today we're going to make something that will utilize many properties a creature might have, such as limbs, a face, arms, claws, stuff of that nature, eyeballs, to get you a look on how things are made for future reference. Now we're going to reset our view. Let's reset our view. So I don't know where I am anymore. Alright, here we go. So, a lot of Blender people like to delete the default cube. Well, not me. I like to utilize the cube. It's a big meme for people to delete the default cube like this, only to add it back. But, oops, that's a plane. But we're going to use the cube, so, first of all, in order to model your creature, you have to have an idea of what you want. I'm going to post a picture of the reference over top of the screen so that you can see what I have. And yes, I did say overneath. It's quite funny. That's one of the names of my songs. But I digress. Anyways, now that you've seen the picture, I'm going to try and model it using this cube. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit mode. We're going to press numpad period to focus in on the cube. Numpad period focuses in on any selection you have. So if you want to select the camera and press numpad period, it'll zoom in on the camera. If you want to go back to the cube, select the cube, press numpad period, and it'll focus on the cube. This will work for any object in any selection. So, like I said, we're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to start the extrusion method. I like to start with the head, but some people can start with the body. It's your choice, but I like to do what's comfortable for me. So I'm going to select the move tool, which is also the G key, and I'm going to move it to where I would estimate the head to be. Going to press numpad period and press S to scale. I'm going to make it about beak sized. Now with the cube scaled properly, we are going to form the beak. Select one face of the mesh that is facing forward, which is -Y, which is behind the green arrow. And we're going to press S to scale. Fun tip, you can also press S, then an axis to scale along that axis. SX to scale along the X. Control Z to undo. SZ to scale along the Z axis, and so on and so forth. But we are going to make a semi-flattened beak, so we're going to scale it all the way, then scale on the X-axis until it looks about right. Now we're going to point out the beak. So we're going to press E to extrude the mesh. This is my favorite method of modeling a creature. So when we press E, you see it makes an entirely new set of faces. Now we're going to press S, and we're going to move it down until it's like a beak shape. And then we're going to cap it off, because when using the subdivision surface modifier, it'll look kind of weird. I'll show you. I'll add a modifier, subdivision surface. And you see how it's got that weird tip on the end? Right here. We're going to cap it off by making another extrusion that's small and close to the original. So we're going to press E and then S. And then we're going to go down a bit. And now that looks more like a beak shape. Now I'm not going to apply this, but I'm going to keep it around just for reference. So I'm going to undisplay it from edit mode. And then I'm going to finish shaping the beak. Now that the beak is properly shaped, we're going to make the head. To do this, we're going to take the back of the beak and extrude it into a head shape. So we're going to press E and then S and move it until it's the desired shape of the head. Now, this might require some additional shaping. Oh, and also remember to turn symmetry on the x-axis, which is right here. I made that mistake by not doing it, and now I have done it. So, we're going to make the shape of the head. Now this won't look exactly like the reference image, which I might post again, but it'll be close enough to get it to where you want to be when sculpting. So we're going to make that, and then we're going to make a place for the eye socket, which would be right here, with some additional shaping. Next, we're gonna make the neck, which really should be in another spot. So let's do that. Let's go E. That head looks kind of long now. All right, we're gonna try something. We're gonna make the eye socket go here, and then we're gonna make the neck start here. Shaping. Shaping is key. Now you see this this edge right here isn't really necessary. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge it with any of these other ones adjacent. So we're first going to select the first vertex, then we're going to select the second vertex, and then press M and merge at last, like this. This will merge the vertices at the last one selected. Let me do a check to see if I'm actually recording. A little sanity check here. Yep, I'm recording. I'll edit that out later. Now that we've got the neck, we're going to start making the body. This is going to be a little easy or hard depending on what you're thinking about making. So, for me, I'm making a weird bird thing. So, we're going to make a bird-shaped body. And then we're going to press E to extrude. Rotate on the x-axis, which is RX. And then we're going to shape a bird body. E, RX, S, E, S, RX, E, S, RX, E, S, RX. X, and then we're going to cap off the tail. E, S. Now, you see it doesn't quite exactly look like it has a chest. I can fix that, and it looks too close to the ground. I can also fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the mesh up by selecting everything with the A key. Then we're going to move it up, and then we're going to confirm. And I'm going to add a place for the legs to be right here. A place for the arms to be right here somewhere. And the chest area so that it doesn't blend in with the legs and the arms. So I'm going to press E while after selecting the belly. E. And then S to scale it down until it looks like a chest area. And then SY to bring it back to a more reasonable width. Now here comes a fun part. We're going to start making the legs. For the legs, you'll have to remember the topology, which is fancy words for where the lines are, for the legs. And we're going to have to remember where to place edges and joints. But it'll make more sense as I do it. So to start with the leg, first we're going to select a face where the leg will come out from. Focus with the numpad period key and press E to extrude. This leg looks kinda wide, doesn't it? But that's where I made the chest piece right here. We can flatten this out and flatten this out and flatten this out. So now it looks like it's closer to the body, which looks more realistic. And then we're going to take this and straighten out the vertices. You'll see why I'm doing this. All right. Now we're going to take this face and make a knee. Birds don't really have very long knees. So we're just going to go down to the bottom of the body. So we're going to press E to extrude, S, Y to scale, and move it out a bit. Maybe rotate by on the Z-axis a little. And you see how it looks like a parallelogram? We want it to be a square. So we're going to make it into a square manually. Just an approximation of what we want this to look like. And then we're going to bring out the knee like so, and the thigh, and now we're going to work on making the ankle and the calf. So I'm going to press E to extrude, move it back because this is where it gets fun. This is how we make a joint, at least for me. So you make a joint by extruding it out until the back face is the angle that you want the joint to be at. Then we're going to merge these vertices together by doing select, select, merge at last. And now we have what looks to be a knee joint. Now we're going to make the calf. So we select this face that's at the angle we want, and we're going to press E, make a small extrusion, and then scale it down a bit. We're shaping the leg before subdividing. And then we're going to do this, make it a little bigger, because calves have muscles. We want to remember the musculature of our creature. And then we're going to do this until it starts looking leg shaped. And then that. And another cool tip is if you don't want to use two axes to move your model around when it's at an angle like this, you can change this mode, this orientation mode, to normal, which will then make it so you can use one axis to move this part along. So now we're going to make the ankle. E, move it back until it's at the desired angle. This takes a little eyeballing. Don't worry about that. And then we're going to keep these vertices because this is going to be the heel. And the heels are kind of pointy, so we're going to keep that. Now we're going to go E, S, R, X to reorient the angle. E, S, and sometimes you'll have to do a little shaping in between. And then maybe right here as well. Oh, select edge. And then we're going to start by making the beginning of the foot. Now, feet are kind of hard, but I've recently found a way to make it look really good. And I will show you in this chapter on how to make feet. To make the feet, we are going to select this face, and then we're going to bring it down until it's about the area we want the foot to start. And then we're going to press S, Z. Oh, we're still on normal mode. Hang on. Go back to global if you are on normal. Then press S, Z to flatten it until it is completely flat on the Z axis. And then we're going to scale it up until it's about the same angle. And we're going to shape this part again. Like so. We're going to make a creature that has 3 toes on the foot and no back toe. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down until we get to the floor. And then we're going to bring in this back face because we don't want a hoof. We want a bird leg. And then we're going to use extrusion to make a pad. A little bird-like pad on the bottom of the foot. So we're going to press E, small, S, E, E, S. So it's a small pad. Let me show you what I can do as well. We can make it a little more realistic by making the pad have an arch. So what we're going to use is the knife tool to cut ourselves an arch. Now the knife tool is also very useful for making toes. So in order to use the knife tool, you have to press the letter K. Now select where you want to make the cut, like let's say the middle here of the ball of the foot. Now you press left click. And we're going to bring it to like right about here. And now press enter. And when you press enter, it confirms the changes. Now we can make this little arch area. We're going to do the same thing we did to make the basic pad. E. And bring it down. Make it smaller just slightly. E. And S. Alright, now we have a more realistic looking foot pad with an arch. What about the toes? I'll tell you about the toes. There's two methods to making the toes. One involves the knife tool, and the other involves scaling and extrusion along this flattened axis, which is now flat because I scaled it along the Y. So the first method is obviously cut toes with the knife tool, like this. Or we can go ESX. And that'll make a toe base. It's the same as the knife tool, but it leaves a little place right here. So I'm going to use the knife tool. I'm going to start at the base of the foot and work my way down. This might be more realistic. And now we're going to start making the toes. So first of all, to make the toes spread out a little bit, we're going to select the middle face. And we're going to bring it out. Like so. Just until it gives it a little bit of spread. And then we're going to extrude individual, which, by the way, goes like this. You hold down the mouse button on extrude region until you find extrude individual. Let go of the mouse button and you'll see a yellow circle with a line connected to it. That's the extrusion. Now we want to select all the faces at the same time. So Shift, Select to select multiple, Shift Select, and then we're going to drag it out. For me, it goes backwards. I do not know why. But now we're going to make the first section of the toe, the second section of the toe, and then the third section of the toe, which will make the switch to normal. Make some of these longer than others. Press Z to go into wireframe mode. And we're going to make some of these toes longer than others. Like so. Press Z to go back into solid mode. And we're going to make pads again. These are easier. But first we're going to do a little bit of shaping. You don't want flat feet, do you? So we're going to make bird-shaped feet with curly little toes. And whatnot. And we're going to make a section for the claws to come out of. If you want to make paws, you can make this section go up like so. But we're going to make bird feet, which are a little bit more flat, I would say. Alright, now we're going to make pads. So bring out the area you want to turn into a little paw pad, for lack of better words. And we're going to go start with the toes. Select all of them. E. E. Now select one and scale it down until it's about the size you want. And keep doing that until all three are done. Then we're going to make the pads on the base. But these guys are connected by a vertex right here. So you're going to want to do them separately or else they'll fuse together. So we start with the outer ones. E, E. Scale them down. And then we go with the inner one. E, E. Now we have what seems to look like a bird foot without the back toe. And now we're going to make claws. Claws are by far one of the most fun for me because you can make them in many different shapes, but here's how I do it. First of all, you'll want to select all these faces, go back into extrude individual, and extrude very, very small amount. Then scale them down to the size of the base of the claw. And then we're going to extrude again a very small amount. And then we're going to extrude a normal amount. This will make the base of the claw so when it subdivides, it looks more attached to the foot instead of blended in with the foot. It's more sharp to the foot. So if we don't do the tiny extrusion, the mesh's claw will look like it blends in with the foot more. And so now we're going to scale these down individually until they're about the size we want them. Then we're going to extrude the next section, move it down, rotate them individually. Make sure you're facing the edge of the rotation, like so. And rotate with the R key and scale. If you're not rotating along the edge, it'll look weird like this. So we have to be facing the edge that we want to rotate on. And then scale. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be approximate. And then extrude individual. And we're going to finish up our claws here. Bring the claw down to whatever level you want. I like to put mine on the floor because I like long claws. And then we're going to end cap them like we did with the beak. Like this. Now just make them really small and pointy. And that is how you make a foot. It looks really good. Now we're going to make the arms. Now you might be wondering why I'm only doing one side at a time. Well, we'll figure that out later, but for now, let's do the arms. It's the same method as the legs, except we're making hands instead of feet. So we're going to extrude until we get about that nice arm shape. But you'll see how it's oriented. Always pay attention to the orientation of your mesh, or else it'll look weird. Another way to get past this weird looking thing, for lack of better words, is to knife it. And then you can merge it somewhere. Knife. This might not be the best method, but I'll show you what you can do. See these three faces that we want to get rid of, right? You're going to press X then delete faces. Now we have a hole, but we're going to fill this hole in a different way than it was before. So first, if we select this vertex, then this vertex, and press the letter F, and we made a face. We made an edge, not a face. Bring that in a bit. And now we're going to fill this edge with faces. We're going to select this one, press F to make a face. Select this triangle, press F to make a face. Now you see it looks more like a shoulder, which is good. We're going to bring it in, and we're going to start the extrusion process. You want to get it at the right angle first. So, press this, select the face, rotate it until it's at the desired angle, E to extrude, S. With arms, you don't have to be so precise as with the legs, at least in my book. Because they're not on the ground. They're just kind of up there, floating. But it's nice to be able to get the arms done right. So I'm going to try and do them as best as I can, to the best of my abilities. This creature has pretty big paws for hands. So I'm going to make them look like paws. We start here. And I'm going to use the knife method again to make paw fingers. First of all, we're going to flatten this out until we get a rectangle. And then we're going to use the knife tool to cut some paw fingers. Boop, enter, K, boop, enter. Now we have paws. We're going to do the same method as we did with the legs, which is extrude individual, like this. Except we're going to make small fingers. You notice how I didn't start with the pads first? That's okay. It doesn't matter which order you do it as long as it looks good in the end. So we're going to shape our fingers into paw shape. Because right now they don't really look paw shaped. More like blocks. You notice how I'm using these angles to make it look more like a paw. I should be on global. There we go. That looks more like a paw. Now we're going to make the pad. E, little bit, S, E, S. And then these little guys. E, E, S, S. And then these guys. E, E, S. And then the paw pads. E, E, S, S, S. And the claws again. E, S, S, S. This creature has some pretty big claws, so we're gonna remember that. And extrude a little bit just a little, then out, then move, and rotate along the edge. Then extrude, then move, scale, rotate along the edge, and end cap. Always remember to check your mesh from all angles to make sure it looks right. And it looks right to me. Now here's how we do the mouth. For the mouth, we want to use the knife tool. So we're going to cut from the beginning of the mouth, which would be the tip of the beak, K, and make your cut into a mouth shape. And we're going to cut into the face a little bit. You'll see why later. Or you'll see why now. Because we're going to make a different shape for the beak. Now you'll see I'm only doing one side, right? Well, fear not. This is where the part of symmetrizing comes in. Now you might wonder, symmetrize. How do I do that? Well, I'll show you. We select the entire mesh, and then we go mesh, symmetrize. But you see, oh no, everything I did disappeared. Well, fear not, we just symmetrized on the wrong axis. So we go to this little button down here at the bottom left, and we change the direction from negative x to positive x to the opposite, which is positive x to negative x. And now we have a symmetrized mesh with arms and legs and mouth on both sides. You're going to want to always do this before rigging, because if you use symmetrize on the mesh after rigging, it will ruin the weights for the mesh. It will make everything symmetrized, so you don't want to do that. Now I'm going to show you how to make eye sockets and mouth. So for the eye socket, it is pretty easy. All you got to do is select this, and we're going to press E, S, there we go, E, then S, to make what looks to be a hole. And then we're going to shape it into the creature's eye socket shape, which is kind of flat and kind of low onto the face of the creature, and a little small too. We're going to bring it out a little bit and rotate on the z-axis so that the eyes are facing semi-forward, but not completely. And then we're going to press E, S, E, and we're bringing it in. Feel free to delete the last face by pressing X faces. It just makes it easier for the eye to be moved via blend shapes. The eyelid, that is. And also makes the shaping for the eye socket using the subdivision surface modifier a whole lot easier when you delete that end face. And now we're going to get into the mouth. For the mouth, after I shape the beak a little bit, we're going to use a vertex separation method. So what we're going to do is select the seam of where the mouth separates from the top and bottom jaw all the way around until we get to about here. We're going to press the letter V. V will separate the vertices. And then we're going to drag it down along the Z-axis by pressing Z. Just a little bit until you see that there's an opening. And now we're going to merge the vertices at the base. M at last. Now always remember what order you selected your vertices in. So bottom, top, M, last. And there you have a slightly open beak. We're going to symmetrize again to keep the eye socket on both sides. And then we're going to fill in the mouth. This is how you fill in the mouth. It's pretty straightforward. We just fill in the faces. F. Select an entire face that you want to make filled. And F. And I'm using Shift middle mouse to pan the camera. It's very useful. And F. Now we're going to do the same with the top. It might also be helpful to view it in wireframe mode. Just to see what you're doing. Now we're going back to solid view and we're going to resymmetrize the mesh. This will cause a seam to go in the middle of the mouth, which we want to shape the mouth with. See? And now, if you view it in solid mode while subdivision's on, you'll notice that the mouth doesn't really look quite right. And that's because we don't really have a lip area. Now, birds don't have lips, but it helps to make a curve in just to keep the mouth from closing this way. So I'm going to show you how to do it. First, turn that off. I'm going to go into wireframe mode. I'm going to select all of the top pieces of the jaw. Now it might be difficult to see what you're doing. But if you know how to navigate Blender, even if you're a beginner, you'll know if you've selected the wrong face by if these edges don't connect. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to press E to extrude and then immediately press S. This will start the rim, and then we're going to scale along the x-axis. After moving a little bit, SX. This is the beginning of the rim of the mouth. We're going to move it up a little bit too. Oops. Now, to reselect something you've deselected, you can press Ctrl Z to undo. Press that, move it up. I'm just eyeballing it right now. Now we press E to extrude a little bit and rotate an eyeball until you've finished the roof of the mouth, which should look like this. It depends what it would look like based on the creature, but for a bird it should look like this. Now we're going to do the bottom jaw. It should be the same method. Merp. Have to select the right thing first. There we go. Numpad period to focus on selection. And ES SX E. You don't want it going through the mesh, so we're going to rotate it a bit. Move it back a bit. And scale it. This creature needs a tongue. You can either model that separately or on top of the mouth itself. I'm going to show you how to do it separately, just like the eyes. Now you'll see when the wireframe is when the subdivision's active, it looks a lot better, doesn't it? Still needs some sculpting, but this is basically what our armed bird looks like. And so I'll leave it like that, add a little sculpting later, and yeah. I'm going to add a tongue and eyes next. So what you'll want to do once you've had your mesh in a finalized state like this, we're going to want to apply the subdivision. And it will go a little bit like this. Go to your modifier, hit the down arrow, and press apply. Now it's stuck like this. This is the mesh. And you'll see there's a diamond right here we can get rid of. Sometimes I don't like those for weight painting reasons. Resymmetrize the mesh if you don't want to. If you're lazy, you can resymmetrize the mesh basically. But I'm gonna sculpt it. Go into sculpt mode and make the limbs look more limby. Give them muscles. Give them fat. Now the limbs look more like limbs. And same with the calves. Maybe even with the feet. And the chest. Bird chest time. Maybe the tail wants some fattening up. We're just going to make it look like it actually has some flesh to it. And then we're going to go back into edit mode and fix these, well, I wouldn't say they're lips. But, you know, beak edge. Until the mouth is closed. If symmetry is not on, you can always resymmetrize. Or if symmetry somehow doesn't work in this step, you're going to want to make sure there's no overlapping. Unless you want an underbite creature or an overbite creature. Then you can have as much overlapping as you want. But for this creature, it does not have either. This part is a little time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. make it more beak shaped now. Bring that in a bit. Bring that out. If you see the mesh going through itself like this, then that means one or more vertices needs to be moved around. So you can do this like, you can even merge, and it'll look good. Now we're going to check both sides and see if they're symmetrical. And they are. We just made a beak. I'm going to shape it a little bit to be more beak shaped. And it's correct on both sides. We're going to make the bird have the sculpting of the reference. It has a melon head like a dolphin. So we're going to make a melon head like a dolphin. I'm using the inflate tool. You can use whatever tool suits your fancy, but I'm going to use inflate. And move some vertices around. We're going to make that little nose piece next, which would be boop, 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 boop. I'm going to re-look at my reference. Yes. Make a nose piece. Boop. And then we're gonna M last, M last, M last, M at last. We're going to use edit mode to finish some shapes. And we're going to move on to the hooded part, which I can use edit mode for if I wanted to, because it'll be more precise. Make sure to smooth those out. Nice. Now we have a bird thing that looks like the reference. Now we're going to look at it smooth. So we're going to go to Object, Shade Smooth in object mode. And it looks great when it's smooth. Undo. Yes. That's nice. Very nice. Press Shift C to center your cursor, and then we're going to move on to eyes and tongue. Let's start making the eyes and tongue. First, we're going to make sure the cursor is centered with Shift C. And then we're going to add Mesh Cube. And this is going to be the tongue. We're going to immediately go into edit mode and move the mesh. We want the origin point to stay at the center of the grid. That's why we go into edit mode first. And then we're going to position it until we go have a tongue shape. So SZ, RX, press Z to go into wireframe mode, by the way. Just to reiterate, we're going to make a pointy tongue. Delete the back face of the tongue. X, delete faces. And now we're going to extrude the tongue. I'm going to press E, SY to flatten it, SX to make it less wide, and E, we're just going to make a tapered tip. ES. ES. And end cap it. Now we have a tongue, and we're going to shape it a little bit before we symmetry. We're going to shape it a little bit before we subdivide. You'll notice how the tongue is coming out from inside the other mesh. That's a good thing. It keeps it from showing the back of the tongue from inside the mouth. And then we're going to add a modifier, and we're going to press subdivision surface and apply, because it looks great already. We're going to name this mesh tongue by going into this object properties window at the right hand panel and going here and naming the body, naming the tongue. We're also going to name the body because we forgot to do that before. It's called cube. We want to organize it better, so we're going to call it body. Remember to save your progress. Always remember to save your progress. I'm going to call it tutorial bird alien. Not a line. Tutorial bird alien. You know, just in case the power surges, you don't want to lose your progress. So, always remember to save. I'm surprised I didn't do it before. That would have been bad on my part if I had lost all my progress. And now we're going to make the eyes. Add mesh UV sphere. We're going to make it a lower polygon count by dragging the segments and the rings to something smaller. I'm going to do 12 by 12. And then we're going to edit mode. To keep the origin point at the center, we're going to make it look like an eye. So we're going to first position it into one of the eye sockets. RY to make the pupil point out. RZ. Now, if your creature isn't going to have rotating eyes, it's okay to make a flat eye. But if you want your creature to have rotating eyes via bones, you're going to want your eyeball to be a perfect sphere. And depending on the shape of the eye socket, you'll probably want the eyeball to be pretty big inside the head, but not so big as to it going into the mouth, which it does not. But we have a nice looking eyeball. If we rotate it, looks like it moves in the socket better. I'm going to go to object mode and shade smooth. And then we're going to mirror it. We can use symmetrize, or we can use the mirror modifier. So in modifiers, you can press add modifier and then mirror. And it should automatically put your mesh on the other side. Make sure merge is off if your eyeballs are touching together using the mirror modifier. This will prevent the eyeballs from being joined together, but in this case the eyes are far enough apart that they don't merge. But just in case, turn this off whenever using mirror modifier on eyeballs. Now we're going to apply. And there you have it, a completely modeled three-dimensional bird creature. In the next part, we are going to UV map and texture this mesh. Thank you for watching. I'm Chicken Google Soup, and I'll see you soon.